नमो तस्स भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धस्स नमो तस्स भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धस्स नमो तस्स भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धस्स. He teaches the Dhamma later on to a person who was present, who was living at his birth time. So the sutta is Nālaka Sutta about Nālaka. You must have heard of the village Nalanda, the city of Nalanda, Nalanda University. So Nalanda was named Nalak during the time of the Buddha. Even the chief disciple of Buddha, Venerable Sariputta, also belonged to this place called Nalak Gram. And most of the people are having the surname Nalak from this village. So there was a Brahmin called Nalak, whose mother was sister of sage Asita. The sage Asita was a very great sage. He had achieved all the 8 jhanas. And he was a very respected person. Once, the seer Asita, in his daily meditation, Asita means dark one. He is an example of the dark hermit archetype. Ananda jate tidasvani padute. Saw the bright clad gods of the host of 30 and their Lord Sakka joyfully celebrated. Sakkancha inna suchi vasane cha deve. Dussagahitva atireva thomayante. Waving streamers in exuberant exaltation. Asito isi ardhasa diva vihare. Are becoming joyful and showing joyful gestures. Seeing the gods rejoicing, elated, Disvana Devi Muditamane Udagge, he paid respects and said this there. Chittim Karitvan Idamo Chatat. Why is the community of gods in such excellent spirits? Kim deva sangho atiriva kalyarupo. Why take up streamers and whirl them about? Russam gahitva ramayatha kim paticha. Even in the war with the Titans, yadapi asi asurehi sangame. Sangamo, when gods were victorious and Titans defeated, Jayo Suranam Asura Parajita. There was no such excitement. Tadapi Netadi So Loma Hamsanu. What marvel have the celestials seen that they so rejoice? Himabhutam Dattu Marupamodita. Shouting and singing and playing music. Sedenti, Gayanti, Chavadayanti cha. They clap their hands and dance. Pujani potenti, Chanachayanti cha. I ask you, dwellers on Mount Merispu peak, Uchami Oham Meruma Uddhavasini, quickly dispel my doubt, good fellows. Runath me samsayam kippa marisa. The being intent on awakening, a peerless gem. So Bodhisattva Ratanavaro Atulyo, the Bodhisatta is born, has been born in the human realm for the sake of welfare and happiness. Manusaloke hita sukhathaya jato. In Lumbini, a village in the Sakyan land, Sakyanagami, Janapade Lumbine. That is why we are so happy in such excellent spirits. Tenam hatutta atiriva kalyarupa. He is supreme among all beings, the best of people. So Sampasatta Uttamo Agga Puggalo, captain of men, supreme among all creatures. Narasabha is literally a bull of man, a man. But the predominant sense is chief, lord rather than bull. Vrushabha was widely used in this sense as far back as the Rigveda. Unlike English, where bull conveys quite a different set of connotations. The same is true of its synonyms, Janavasabha, Purisinisabha, but not Purisusabha. Narasabhu, Sabbapajanam, Uttamo, he will roll forth the wheel in the grove of the seers. Vattesati, Chakkami, Isivye Vane, roaring like a mighty lion, lord of beasts. Nadamvasiho Balavamigadipu, hearing this, he swiftly descended. Tam Saddam Sutva, Turitam Avasariso, and right away approached Suddhodana's home. Suddhodanastatata bhavanam upavisi. Seated there, he said this to the seconds. Nisajjatatha idama ochasi sakhe. Where is the boy? I too wish to see him. Uhim kumaro aham api datthukam. Then the Sakyans showed their son to the one named Asita. Tato kumaram chalitamiva suvannam. The boy shone like burning gold. Ukkamukhe sukusala sampahattam. Well wrought in the forge. Taddallamanam siriya anupavannam. Dazzling with glory of peerless beauty. Sasse suputtam asita vayassa sakya. The boy beamed like crested flame. Visva Kumaram Sikimiva Pajalantam, pure as the moon, Lord of stars traversing the sky. Taram Sanhum Navasigamam Visuddham, blazing like the sun, free of clouds after the rains. Suriyam Tapantam Saradariva Bhamutam, seeing him, he was joyful, brimming with happiness. Anandajato Vipulamalatha Pitim, the celestials held up a parasol in the sky. Aneka Sakhancha Sahasamandalam, many reaped and thousand circled. Chattam Marudharayu Mantalikhe, and golden handled chauris waved. Suvannadanda Viti Patanti Chamara, but none could see who held the chauris or the parasols. Nadissare Chamara Chattagahaka, when the dreadlocked seer called dark splendor. Visvajati Kanna Siryo Vaya Isi had seen the boy like a gold ingot on a cream rug. Suvarnanikham Vyapandukambale with a white parasol held over his head. Setancha Chattam Dharyantamudhani. He received him, elated and happy. Udagga Chitto Sumano Patiggahe, having received by the Sakyan Bhut. Patiggahetva Pana Sakya Pungavam, the seeker, master of marks and hymns. Jikisako Lakkhanamanta Parahi, lifted up his voice with confident heart. Pasanna Chitto Girim Abhudirai, he is supreme, the best of men. Anuttarayam Dvipadanam Uttamo, but then, remembering he would depart this world, Athattano Gamanam Anusaranto, his spirits fell and his tears flowed. Akalyarupo Gadayati Asukani, seeing the weeping seer, the Sakyan said, Visvana Sakya Isimo Ochum Rudantam, surely there will be no threat to the boy. No che Kumare Bhavisati Antarayo. Seeing the crestfallen Sakyans, the seer said, Visvana Sakya Isim Och Akalle, I do not foresee harm befall the boy. Naham Kumare Ahitamanusarami, and there will be no threat to him. Nachapi Massa Bhavisati Antarayo, not in the least. Set your minds at ease. Na Orakayam Adhimanasa Bhavat. This boy shall reach the highest awakening. Sambodhi Agam Usissatayam Kumaro, as one of perfectly purified nature, compassionate for the welfare of the being. So Dhammachakram Parama Visuddhadasi, he shall roll forth the wheel of the teaching. Vattesataya Bahujana Hitanukampi, his spiritual path will become widespread. Vitharikassa Bhavisati Brahmacharyam, but I have not long left in this life. Mamancha Ayuna Chiram Idhavasesu, I shall die before them. Atantarame Bhavisati Kalikiriya, I will never hear the teaching of the one who bore the unequaled burden. Soham no sosam asamadhurasa dhammam. That is why I am so upset and distraught. It's a disaster for me. Tenami atto besanangato aghavi, having brought abundant happiness to the Sakyans. So Sakiyanam Vipulam Janitva Pitim, the spiritual seeker left the royal compound. Ante Brahma Nigamma Brahmachari, he had a nephew, and out of sympathy, Sobhageniyam Sayam Anukampamano, he encouraged him in the teaching of the one who bore the unequaled burden. Bhageniya, nephew means sister's son. The Nālaka was Asita, sister's son. When you hear the voice of another saying Buddha, Buddho Digho Samyada Parato Sunasi, one who has attained awakening and who reveals the foremost teaching, Sambodhipatto Vivrati Dhammamakam, go there and ask about his breakthrough. Gantvan Tattha Samayam Paripuchaman, lead the spiritual life under that blessed one. Charasu Tasmim Bhagavati Brahmacharyam. Now that Nalak had a store of accumulated merit, Tenanu Siddho Hitamane Natadina. So when instructed by one of such kindly intent, Anagate Parama Visuddhadasina, with perfectly purified vision of the future. So Nalako Upachita Punya Sanchayo, he waited anticipating the victor, guarding his senses. Jinam Patikham Parivasi Rakhita Indriyo, when he heard of the victor rolling forth the excellent wheel, he went to him. Sutvana Ghosam Jinavara Chakravartanim, and seeing the boss seer, he became confident. Gantwana Diswa Isinisabham Pasanno, the time of Asita's instruction had arrived. Moneya Settham Munipavaram Apuchi. So he asked the excellent sage about the highest sagacity. Samagate Asita Vayasa Sasaneti. The introductory verses are finished. Vattugatha Nithita. So the first part of the discourse is finished here. How the sage Asita goes to the Kapilvattu and he sees the boy who was newly born. Siddhartha Gautama was newly born. Asita, when she was meditating during the day and he saw gods very cheerful and enjoying and dancing and singing, then he inquired why the gods are so happy. Then somebody told him that Siddhartha Gautama, the Bodhisatta, who will become the Buddha, is born in Kapilvattu in Suddhodana's residence. Then Asita gets down from Himalayas and he goes to Kapilvattu, the capital of Sakyans, and there he goes and he wants to see the boy, and the Sakyans show him the boy. Then he starts smiling, and then suddenly he starts crying. So Sakyans ask him, "Why did you smile first, and why did you cry later?" And then the Asita Rishi tells them that I'm happy that this boy is going to be Buddha, he is going to be an enlightened person. But I cried because I will not be alive when he becomes enlightened. So I will not receive his teachings. Actually, he was immersed in the eighth jhana on the basis of kasinas, not with sampajanya, not with the knowledge of impermanence, misery, and selflessness. He had developed a samadhi to the extent of the naiva sanya, naiva satya, yatan, neither perception nor non-perception stage he had reached. And he was to die in that eighth stage of jhana only. When you die in the eighth stage of jhana, you get birth in formless Brahmaloka, Arupa Brahmaloka. There, Vipassana cannot be taught. There, the knowledge of impermanence, misery, and knowledge of not self cannot be taught because there is no body in Arupa Brahmaloka. It has only mind. So, how will you practice 6 hours when there is no body? So, you cannot become liberated in Arupa Brahmaloka. You have to either come to Rupa Brahmaloka or Devaloka or Manushya Loka, human Loka, to get Dhamma in a proper way, to practice meditation in a proper way. In Arupa Brahmaloka, the beings there, they have only minds. Their minds are already in Brahma Viharas. They are practicing Brahma Viharas. They are practicing Metta, Karuna, Mudita, Upekha. But they cannot develop the knowledge of impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and knowledge of not self. That cannot be developed, although they are practicing Brahma. So, because body is not there, they have to come back to Rupa Brahma Loka or develop our knowledge. Then only they can listen to Dhamma. Because they have no ears in Arupa Brahma. They have no ears, no eyes, no teeth, no tongue, no nose in Arupa Brahma. So finally, the Asita, at, at least he thinks that at least my nephew should learn, my sister's son should learn if I cannot learn. So he goes to his sister's son in the Nālaka Grama. The son's name is also Nālak. And he tells him that whenever this person becomes a Buddha, please follow him and get enlightened. And the Nalak grows, he becomes a man, and Siddhartha Gautama also becomes a man. And Siddhartha Gautama went in search of enlightenment and he got enlightened. And Nalak got the news that Siddhartha Gautama is now enlightened. So he decides to go to him as per the advice of his uncle, his mama. Okay. So now the next part of the sutra. I know now know the Asita's words. Anyatam etam vachanam have turned out to be true. Asitasya yatha tatham. I ask you this, Gotama. Tam Gotama puchhami. Who has gone beyond all things? Sabbadhamman parahu. For one who has entered the homeless life. Anagariyu petassa. Seeking food on alms round. Vikhacharyam jigisato. When questioned, O sage, please tell me, Muni Pabruhui me puttho of sagacity, the ultimate state. Moneyam uttamam padam, I shall school you in sagacity. Moneyam te upanissam, said the Buddha. So difficult and challenging. Dukkaram durabhisambhavam. Come, I shall tell you all about it. Handatenam pavakham. Brace yourself, stay strong. Santham Basu Darho in the village, keep the same attitude. Samana Bhagam Kubvetha, no matter if reviled or praised. Guard against ill-tempered thoughts. Manopadosam Raksheya, wander peaceful, not frantic. Santo Anunnato Chare. Many different things come up. Uchavacha Nicharanti, like tongues of fire in a forest. Taye Agni Sikha Upama. Woman tried to seduce a sage. Nariyo Munim Palo Bhenti. Let them not seduce you. Tasutam Ma Palo Bhayam. Refraining from sex. Virato Methuna Dhamma. Having left behind sensual pleasures. High and low. Itava Kame Paropare. Don't be hostile or attached. Aviruddho Asarattho. To living creatures, firm or frail. Pane su tasathavare, as am I, so are they. Yatha aham, tatha ete, so are they, as are they, so am I. Yatha ete, tatha aham, treating others like oneself. Attanam upamam katva, neither kill nor incite to kill. Nahaneyana dhataye, leaving behind desire and greed. Itva icchancha lobhancha, for what ordinary people are attached to. Yatha satto puthujjano, one whose eye is clear would set out to practice. Chakkuma patipajjeya, they would cross over this abyss. Tareya narakam ima, with empty stomach, taking limited food. Unudaro mitaharu, few in wishes, not greedy. Apichas alolupo, truly hungerless regarding all desires. Sada ichchaya nichchato, desireless, one is quenched. Anicho hoti nibbhuto, having wandered for alms. Sapindacharam charitva, they would take themselves into the forest. Vanantam abhihare, and nearing the foot of a tree. Upatthito rukkhamulasmin, the sage would take their seat. Asana upagato muni, that attentive one intent on absorption. Sajhana pasuto dhiyo, would delight within the forest. Vanante ramito siya, they would practice absorption at the foot of a tree. Jayetharukhamulasmin, filling themselves with bliss. Attanam abhitosayam, then at the end of the night. Tatoratya vivasani, they would take themselves into a village. Kamantam abhihare, they would not welcome being called. Avanam navinande, nor offerings brought from the village. Abhiharancha gamato, Namuni, a sage who has come to a village. Namuni gamamagam, would not walk hastily among the families. Kulesu sahasachari, they would not discuss their search for food. Dhase sanam chinnatako, nor would they speak suggestively. Navacham payutam bhane, I got something that is good. Alatham yedidam sadhu. I got nothing that is fine. Nalatham kusalam iti. Unaffected in both cases. Ubhayaneva sotati. They return right to the tree. Rukham upanivattati. Wandering with bowl in hand. Sapattapani vicharanto. Not dumb, but thought to be dumb. Amugo muga sammato. They wouldn't scorn a teeny gift. Appam danam nahireya. Nor look down upon the giver. Tataram navachanya. For the practice has many aspects. Uchavachahi patipada, as explained by the ascetic. Samanena pakasita, they do not go to the far shore twice. Naparam digunam yanti, nor having gone once, do they fall away. Naidam ekavunam mutam, when a mendicant has no creeping. Yes, such a visatana, and has cut the stream of craving. Chinna sotassa bhikkhuno, and given up all the various duties. Icha kicha pahinassa, no fever is found in them. Pariraho na vijjati, I shall school you in sagacity. Moneyate upanisam, practice as if you were licking a razor's edge. Puradharu pamo bhave, with tongue pressed against the roof of your mouth. Jivayatalu mahach, be restrained regarding your stomach. Udare sanyato siya, don't be sluggish in mind. Alina chitto chasiya, nor think overly much. Nachapi bahu chintaye, be free of putrefaction and unattached. Nirama gandho asito, committed to the spiritual life. Brahmacharya parayano, train in a lonely seat. Eka sanassa sikkhetha, attending closely to ascetics. Samanupasanassa cha, solitude is sagacity, they say. Ekattam monamakhatam, if you welcome solitude, eko cha abhiramissasi, you will light up the 10 directions. Athabhai si dasadisa, having heard the words of the attentive. Sutva dhiranam nighosam, the meditators who have given up sensual desires. Jainam kamachaginam, a follower of mind would develop. Tato hirinja sadhancha, conscience and faith, all the more. Viyo kubbetha mamaku, understand this by the way streams move. Tam nadihi vijanat, in clefts and crevices. Sobhesu padaresu cha, the little creeks flow on resounding. Sananta yaditi kussobha, while silent flow the great rivers. Tuni yanti mahodati, what is lacking resounds. Yadunakam sanati, what is full is at peace. Yam puram santamevatam, the full is like a half full pot. Adha kumbha upamo balo, the wise like a brimful lake. Rahado purova pandito, when the ascetic speaks much, yam samano bahum vasati, it is relevant and meaningful. Upetam atha sanhitam, knowing he teaches the Dhamma. Janam so dhammam, they say, knowing he speaks much. Janam so bahu bhasati, but one who knowing is self-control. Yocha janam sanyatatto, knowing does not speak much. Janam na bahu bhasati, that sage is worthy of sagacity. Samuni mona marahati, that sage has achieved sagacity. Samuni mona majjagati. So, this is how Buddha teaches him how to attain sagacity, how to attain, become a muni, how to become a muni. So, this is the Nālaka Sutta. There is also another translation, by Khantipalo. In midday meditation, the sage Asita saw brilliantly arrayed the thrice stained Deva troop, happy and joyful, waving flags the while, with Sakka their superior, all highly elated. Then, when he had seen the Devas so delighted, respectfully he greeted them and questioned them like this: Why is this Deva Sangha so exceedingly joyful? They have brought along banners for brandishing about, even when Devas battled anti gods with a beam for Deva horse and lost for demon hordes. Then was no such celebration. So, what have Devas seen? What wonder have they heard? Why Devas are delighted? They whistle and they sing, clap hands and strum sitas, with dancing and with music. So they celebrate. O you Deva dwellers on Meru's airy peaks, I beg you, good sirs, soon dispel my doubts. Devas say, a Bodhisattva has been born in the Sakyan seat, in lands along Lumbini, precious gem beyond compare, for the weal and welfare of those in the human realm. That is why we are delighted and completely overjoyed. He best being of all, foremost among mankind, mighty bull among men, of creatures all supreme, will revolve the wheel in ancient seers' works. Like unto a roaring lion, mightiest of beasts. Having known this news, then the sage in haste, in mind, descended to Suddhodana's abode, sat he down, and said, Where then is this prince? I wish to see him now. So Sakyans he beseeched. Then to him Asita named did Sakyans show their son. The prince in color clear as rays from shining gold, burnished and illustrious, both of supernal hue. Joy with rapture great filled Asita's heart. On perceiving this young prince, bright as crested flame, pure like the lunar Lord stars, hurtling through the sky, dazzling as the sun on cloudless autumn days. Sky beings all above carried canopy of state, of many tired parasols as well as gold handled wheels. But no one saw the bearers of the whisks and parasols. The sage with dreadlocked hair, also Kanasiri called, seeing then the prince golden jewel upon brocade, white parasols of state held above his head, received him in his arms with gladdened mind and joy. As soon as he received the foremost second man, he skilled in lore of science and mastery of mantras, exclaimed, highest, unexcelled among the race of men, but recollected then that soon, so soon he would die, seeing the sobbing prince. The Sakyans asked of him, surely for this prince no peril will befall. The sage in answer said to anxious Sakyans, no fears do I foresee to come upon the prince, nor any harm at all future will befall, nor he is unfortunate. So do not be depressed. For he will touch upon enlightenment divine and turn the Dharma king, seer of perfect purity, with compassion for the many. He will set forth the goodly life, but I have only brief time left within my life. While in this time I will die, having no chance to hear the Dharma of that one of power incomparable. This saddens me, so such loss distresses me. Having rose in seconds this joy profound, the sage, keeper of pure precepts, left inner palace suits, then of his compassion to his sister's son, set out, arousing in him interest in the Dharma deep. From persons having heard the sound Buddha word, who Sambodhi attend, practicing the Dharma path, go there, then question him as his disciples live with him. Practice with that radiant Lord precepts of purity, so instructed by him, whose mind set on benefit, who foresaw in future time perfect purity complete. That Nālaka, his nephew, much merit stored away, with guarded senses waited in expectation of the victor. Having heard of the victor's revolution of the noble will, he went to him and saw him, that prime among the saviors, and trust arose in him the greatest sage. Then he inquired upon silentness supreme, thus coming to fulfill the sage's wish. Having understood Asita's speech, that it accords with truthfulness, Gotama, we question you on dharmas gone to the further shore. I came to homelessness, but now I wish, as a bhikkhu, to behave. Speak to me, sage, as I request, on the highest state of silentness. So, bhikkhu, in earlier translation, Bhikkhu Sujata has translated Muni as sagacity, the stage of Muni as sagacity. Actually, the word Muni it comes from Mauna. Mauna means who is silent. Mauna means silence, and Muni means who is silent. So Muni is silent by body, silent by speech, silent in his mind. His mind is not making noise. The Buddha's mind never makes noise. And Arhat's mind never makes noise. So they are called Muni, the silent people. So different translations by different translators. So highest state of silentness. So Buddha says, knowledge of silence I will convey. Hard to do, to master difficult. So be both firm and resolute. And I will speak upon this thing. In town there is always praise and blame. So practice even mindedness. Guard against faults of mind. Fair, calm, and free of from arrogance. As crown fire craze and forest fuel flies up, so do women tempt the sage, but be not by them tempted. Refrain from sexual dharmas, whether pleasures fine or coarse. Be not attached, repelled for beings weak or strong. Comparing others with oneself. As I am, so are they, and as they are, so am I. Kill not, nor cause to kill. Wishes and greed give up to which ordinary persons are attached. Be one with vision and set out to go across this hellish state. Empty bellied, with little food, few in wishes, greedless too, the wishless he, and hungerless, the wishless come, quiet, cool. The sage on arms round, having walked, going then to lonely woods, and drawing near the roots of a tree, takes a seat just there, firmly intent on jhana, and delighting in the woods, who at the tree roots meditates, satisfies himself. Until the end of night, when to a village he goes, there by gifts not pleased, nor by invitations. The sage to village come, hastens not among the houses, but cuts off talk while seeking food, and refrains from hints. Good it is that I have gained, good that I have not as well. One such thinks both alike, returning to his going about with bowl in hand, not dumb, but others think him so. He does not scorn a trifling gift, nor despise its donor. Refined and basic practices, the samanas made clear, but beyond which both they not go, nor through one only experience, in whom no craving is left. That bhikkhu cut across the stream, should do, should not do, given up. In him no fever is found. Further than his wisdom still I teach. Be like a razor's edge, tongue tip upon the palate. Thus be restrained in vain. Be not indolent in mind, but neither think too much, and be free from all carry on stage. Aim at life of purity. Train yourself in solitary life, the way of life of samanas. Take high delight in being one, it's called singleness. With this you will shine forth in all directions, staying. Then the praises of the wise, those skilled in meditation, sensuality let go, as one loving me. You will all the more grow in faith and modesty. Now this from waters flow, those by rocks and pools. Such reeds and becks gush noisily. Great waterways flow. Why? What is unfilled makes noise, but silent is what is full. The fool is like the pot half filled. The wise ones like a lake that is full. When a samana speaks much full of goodness and meaning, knowing dharma knowing he speaks so much, but who, knowing is self-restraint, knowing he speaks not much, that sage is worth to silence, a sage to silence reached. So, this is the Sutta, Nālaka Sutta. It describes the importance of staying alone. Praise and non-praise. Even if you, even if people find faults with you or people praise you, in both the situations, he tells Nalaka to be even-minded. And how one can be even-minded? By practicing 6 hours, we can be even-minded. So let us practice 6 hours all the time. Whenever we hear a praise or we hear bad things about us, then also we should be even-minded by using 6 hours. So let us share merits. May suffering ones be suffering free, and the fear struck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief, and may all beings find relief. May all beings share this merit that we have thus acquired for the acquisition of all kind of happiness. May beings inhabiting space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty power, share in this merit of ours. May they long protect the Buddha's dispensation. Sa, sa, sa.